I'm Gabrielle Chavez, and this is my husband, Thomas C. Chavez, and this is part 3 of the Compass Way to Embodied Grace, an introduction. What I would like to do with this time is briefly review where we are so far. We've talked about that we have the possibility of existing as a body-mind system in any one of 3 places at any given moment. That would be in a consciousness state of grace, which is something that sounds very good and something we all want. I want that. And in our religious language, we might call that a state of heaven on earth, not just for us individually, but for our society. But that's one place we can be. We may not always be there. I'm not. But I'm aiming for it. So where am I the rest of my time? I'm in 1 or 2 places which are not unitive, not a state of oneness or healing or peace, but a state of either what we call getting along or a state of self-protection. Those are the 3 basic states. And my life has many aspects, so one part of my life I could be in a state of grace. When I think about coming to work and how much I love this church, or an individual person that my heart's really open to, I feel different, I look different, nicer to be with. States of grace are characterized by very open postures, very expansive feelings. If you were measuring my heart rate variability or heart coherence or my immune system or just the overall working of my circulation in a state of grace or my neurophysiology, all the markers would be very optimal for healing. And I would be like rock solid here in my body. We have 8 compass points that help us locate the different ways we can describe states of grace, and those are on your graphic. Acceptance, gratitude, joy, inspiration, awe, peace, presence, and love. Now, these are not all the names you could use for states of grace. These are 8 states we can identify and aim for. Grace is a unitive consciousness. So if I'm in peace, I'm not very far from joy. I'm in joy. I'm not very far from inspiration. So as we talked in the first class, if you can find any one of these, in religious language I sometimes call them keys to the kingdom of heaven, ways into states of grace. If you can find a memory in your body and you felt utter gratitude, and you can imagine you're there now, your body will change, your neurophysiology will change, you'll feel better, and your relationships will work better. So that's the compass of grace in a very brief nutshell. So the compass of getting along, also 8 points that we talked about last time. These are where my body-mind is not in this expanded unitive state, but I'm very focused on having to do something. And behind that is a consciousness not of life is a gift, I don't have to do anything, just be. States of grace are states of being. States of getting along is the consciousness that I'm not at one with God and nature and everybody else, and it's all flowing to me like a gift. I'm separate, so I have to do stuff to make my life work, especially to solve the terrible problem of being in a body in what seems to be a very unkind, unloving environment. So as I congratulated you all last time, if you are here, you are survivors, you've figured out some strategies to get along in this world. The other way to talk about the compass of getting along using biblical language, Jesus' language, is this world. He talked about the realm of heaven. He taught us to pray for heaven on earth. We're calling that grace. He talked about the realm of this world, which is under the sway of what he called Satan, the devil, meaning it's a realm of struggle and pain, of effort and loss, and the struggle is to be a high-functioning getting along, to make those connections with other people that will help me survive, help me feel love, help me get what I think I want. So the 8 compass points of getting along also have postures associated with them. They track, actually, infant development. So the first one is holding. People who get along by trying to hold things are initially just little infants who know to survive, they need to be held. And so they get very good at holding on to ideas, to people, to life experiences, to memories, and that becomes like a getting along strategy. And we all do all 8 of these, and I don't have time to go over all 8, that's the advanced material, but just to illustrate that it's very much part of being human, that we have to solve the problem of getting along. The moment we realize, as Thomas said last time, that mother being is not really us, but has its own volition, and we can't control it. So we have this anxiety about if I can't control the source of diaper changes and food and warmth and safety, we begin life quite anxious at an early age. So we might get very good at controlling our environment by stuff we do. Become good, people good at taking care of stuff. People good at attracting attention to ourselves so that we'll be seen as wonderful. These are getting along strategies. We're not saying these are a bad thing, even though they're not grace. Our human potential includes being in a state of grace. Most self-help modalities really just teach us how to be in a very high functioning getting along. How to win friends and influence people, because getting along is all about making connections, reaching out, creating good relationships. So that's getting along. That's where most of us spend most of our time. Our postures of getting along are not as relaxed and open as states of grace where you're just, wow, I'm here, and isn't life great? The postures of getting along are more tense, more focused, more nearsighted, more leaning forward, or more leaning back, however they are. They're very easy to track, and we have people working with us on what these postures look like. And after a lifetime, I think I showed you the posture of what can I take care of, what can I control, ends up like this. And the other postures do that too. So today's class, the remaining time, is to give you an overview of the 3rd state of field of self and consciousness that we call self-protection. If I was using religious language, I would call it hell on earth. This is, again, based on a sense of separation. I'm alone. But behind it is a refusal to connect with others, a fear to connect, and a whole lot of inward cycling of pain and fear and all these negative emotions. So forgive us. We're going to have to go there for a while. But the purpose of all of this is to become more self-aware of where we are. Because our faith is about metanoia, about repentance, about change. And it's a whole lot easier for me to change if I could see the problem in the first place. And if our own bodies are telling us, not to mention everybody else, what state we're in, if we learn to notice that, we can make the adjustments in our bodies, and therefore in our minds and our hearts and our spirits. So, Thomas, talk to us about self-protection, where that comes from, and how it works.
Okay. First, I want to reiterate now that we're going to ask for forgiveness here, because not only are we going to be talking about the realm of hell on earth, but we're going to be talking about what in religious language comes down to sin. The sin of being alive and wanting to stay that way. And that's, we all do that. We're all guilty. One of the ways that we talk about sin religiously, actually there are 3, let's back up. There are 3 categories of behavior that historically in biblical times, in the Hebrew world, were labeled as sin, and we don't take them apart, and it gets very confusing, because one category of sin is to be is to lose religious purity, ritual purity, and that's you are religiously, ritually not ready to be in connection with God, and that has to do with the state of your hair, the state of your clothing, the state of whether you made a vow and you've kept the vow to not drink, or whether you've touched a dead body, all kinds of things. Another set of behaviors that all get called sin are things where you are destructive to the world around you, where you steal, where you murder, where you go into court and tell lies. And a third category is where you are in consciousness separated from God, where you just are not in alignment with the intention that our Hebrew ancestors discerned as this is what God wants. And these categories are not clear categories. They sort of leak into each other. But they can be teased apart, and you can see where some of these rules came from. And when you do, a whole lot of the bugaboo of sin sort of evaporates. When you are using this idea as a bludgeon, you destroy the value, whatever value it may have had. When we are out of touch with whatever it is that is our expression and your expression and our mutual expression of what is the will of God, we are not one. And as Gabriel was saying just a moment ago, the first place to be when I notice I'm not one is to be a little bit tense and a little bit upset and a little bit anxious and a little bit on purpose and making it happen. And when that doesn't work, when it doesn't happen, when I've reached out for something and I get my hands slapped, I contract further. My body actually gets smaller. I get ready to fight. Now there's a whole bunch of psychoneuroimmunology that happens, and we can reductionistly look at all these things. And you can say, well, the body is tightening up because it's getting ready to have a leopard, reach out and try and kill you. And if you're that tight, you don't bleed to death instantly. You might have a chance to run. Wonderful. Okay. But we tighten up that way when the boss frowns at us, as if we're going to save us from bleeding to death. Only there's no blood. The trade-off on being saved from bleeding to death right away so I can get away and hold this closed and maybe survive is this huge shift in how my body is, how my immune system works, how all the biochemistry works, and I lose a few minutes off the end of my life every single time, because that's the trade. I'm paying for this survival trade. But we also pay by our shift in consciousness, because when I am in self-protection, I am under attack. Whether or not somebody else is attacking me or not, whatever they say, I experience it as an attack. I am afraid. I am angry. Or I am apathetic. But the world is against me. You don't understand me. Nothing works. And I am struggling unsuccessfully to survive. And in the process, I am chipping away at my ultimate survival. I am becoming less and less alive. And I will end up dead. As we all will. But I'll do it a little bit sooner. And a few minutes at a time doesn't sound like much, but think about how many times in a day, in a week, in a year, we contract. We feel bad. We feel under attack. We need to, get away. A few minutes lost out of all those, and we wear out. We're literally wearing ourselves out extra because we don't know any better. Because our bodies are designed to save us from leopards, which are jumping out of the bush. And we don't live in a world of leopards. We live in a world of taxes. And we react the same way. And it doesn't help us. And it costs us just as much. And we are out of connection. We are out of alignment. Another way to talk about this whole process is to talk about the field of consciousness that is grace, that we map with the compass of grace, being unitive, and self-protection and getting along as the world of duality. The yes, no, up, down, right, wrong, world of everyday life. And the duality is whether I am reaching towards you or recoiling from you. That's really that's duality. And in duality, we have two kinds of consciousness. One is a wish for it consciousness, and a I don't want it consciousness. Those two not being in unity reflect experiencing you as it and it. If I reach for you, you're a commodity. I'm reaching for you as a commodity. I'm trying to make things work. I'm trying to get together with you. I'm trying to fall in love with you as an it. And if it doesn't work, you're an icky it. And to quote Martin Buber. Anybody here ever read Martin Buber? He wrote in 1928. You had a lot of chance.
I did.
Buber was an incredibly brilliant Jewish scholar and religious, ecstatic mystic who formulated a philosophy in which he talked about I and thou. That the world can be lived in an I-thou relationship and an I-it relationship. And the more informal you is that slippery slope that itifies. When I am I-thou, I am one with you, and what is God happens in the space, the thou space, the total openness, the total respect, the total being open space. And when I am dealing with you, well, it's not so open. You have your sovereignty, I have my sovereignty, and we have our differences, and we have to make deals. And it sort of is human and alive as long as the deal works and the deal breaks. You're just up. And that's an it. Does anybody have any sense of what I'm talking about? Am I connecting in any way? One or two? Okay. So,
how does the story change when your consciousness changes?
Well, that's one of the ways to look at how we function. In fact, the most important way we function, the great human skill is that we tell stories. We have enormous amounts of experience. And I don't know if you can remember when you were 2 years old, but if you can throw yourself back there, you will notice that experience is just rushing past. Stuff is happening, and it's just stuff. And already at 2 years old, you're starting to tell stories to order the experiences so that they make sense. We make meaning out of our experience by telling stories. And then we get really good at them, and we go, I'm so good at it, I'm now a diagnostician. Okay? I'm a detective. I'm a judge. I'm a historian. Whatever it is, you strip it of all the fancy stuff, and what it is telling a story. That is the human skill. So when I am dealing with you instead of thou, okay, I'm dealing with you as a separate out there that I want to have something to do with. We're going to make a deal, and we're going to both make money, and everything's going to be great, right? I'm telling a story about what would this guy like? How do I make this deal work? How do I please him so he will please me? It is transactional. It's not yet quite contractional, but it can go there. And the closer we go from a transaction that we do on the fly to one that's written on paper, the closer we get to it. Because what is happening is that my word is my bond. It always is, but my signature is actionable. Okay. That's why we have a contract, is because we can have action, which is a self-protective activity. And now I and the other person have become its to each other. We're the guns to each other's heads. We said this, and this is going to be the penalty, and this is the penalty that way. So when I am in self-protection, I'm no longer telling a story with you at the center of the story. Okay. How am I going to make this work? I'm now telling a story with me at the center of the story. Where I was trying to understand over here, I'm now going, you don't understand. It's not about my understanding, it's about your understanding, because it's all about me. Both kinds of story, both getting along story and self-protective story, are for the benefit of me. Because I'm separated. Because I see the world from the appearance of the body.
Are you saying it's domination?
Domination grows out of self-protection. The whole domination system are winners. You know, is the placement of the winners in self-protection. I can kill more of you than anybody else, so you do what I say. And I can kill more of you because I have a bigger sword, and I know how to use it better. So, got the picture? Real simple. But it grows out of itifying all of you. Same, it's a different way into the same story. When I am one with you, do I need to dominate you? Do you need to dominate me? Do we need anything? We're having a party. We're just getting along and not even trying because there's nothing to do. Because our hearts do it. Our love does it. Our beingness does it. When it's you or me, and it ain't going to be me, that's the beginning of domination, right?
So let's bring it into personal relationships. Maybe we can illustrate the postures and have a little fight up here.
Okay.
Because the sense of separation, you know, it can start a war, but it can start a war in an intimate relationship. Some people are at war with themselves. This consciousness applies to all our relationships, no matter whether it's our small family unit, our church, our political party, or our nation. So let's say we're getting along real well.
We're having a tea party?
Yeah, we've enjoyed our green smoothies. And all of a sudden, Thomas, you said that you were going to put the wash out. And, you know, I had to do it. Why?
Well, it was raining. Well, why?
Well, look, I did it. You know, it was raining for me, too.
Well, why would you put the wash out in the rain?
I like the way it smells when it's outside. You don't understand.
Yeah, I just know I have to put it. I just know I have to put it back in the washing machine.
Okay, let's rewind. Did you watch our postures?
Yeah.
Did you listen to how the story changed?
Yeah.
We love each other, but it was escalating, and we were both forgetting the deep connection, the unity that we have over some dumb little thing. Most of the triggers into self-protection in relationships are total misunderstandings. They really are. I've spent my career in, church work. And there's serious breaches sometimes amongst people who are members of the body of Christ and committed to the work of grace. And when you tease all that apart, it's almost always at the bottom of some kind of pain that someone's having that someone else didn't get and set them off. But we go into these cycles, and then how do you get someone out of self-protection? So let's run that scene again. Okay, so you just don't understand how important it is to me to have, I don't care what the weather is, first of all, that you do what you said you would do, that you remember that, and that, you understand what I care about, not just, okay, you're looking at it your way.
I'm sorry, I was looking at it my way.
You're sorry?
And
You are sorry? Let me take that in. I know that. Okay, that was a little staged, but the magic word, it opened to, like, he did something I didn't expect. I was ready to fight, and there wasn't anybody there to resist. When Jesus said, resist not evil, this is why.
see, to work upon an evil is to work an evil. Okay? Very simple. Our reactionary friends forget this, and our progressive friends forget this. And we end up working evil upon each other all the time. Because you're mistaken, and I'll beat you over the head. it doesn't work. It only makes war.
Let's make a couple observations about the thing we just did. Does it feel good to watch two people fight? No. Especially two people that you sort of expect to get along pretty well because they're, you know, leaders. So that is another example of how we're all really connected. I mean, there's a lot of research now about how we resonate together, even though we feel separate, we perceive ourselves as separate, but being around someone who's stressed and angry and vibing, that makes me want to contract and go somewhere else. So we're going to do another little experiment. I need a guinea pig. Someone who can stand up here and feel bad without telling us the story. Okay, come on, Rick. Okay, so just look at Rick, his posture and how he's standing right now, yeah. And this is a little unusual, but I'm going to test the strength of your muscles. So you're right or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, so this, Thomas will test the strength. You must stick your left hand out, which is your weaker one, and just hold it
right
as he
there.
presses down. We're going to see
And
how
you're
strong
going
he
to
is
stop
right
only
now.
this muscle,
Yeah.
not the whole
Yeah.
structure.
So just
okay?
make your arms strong while he sees how strong you are. Okay. So let's try that again. Make your arms strong. Okay. Feel how strong you are? Okay.
So.
Now put your arm down and think about a failure or a loss or something you really feel bad about. Do not tell us what it is.
Something that just
Something
went,
that is just not happy
went
for you.
belly up.
Okay,
No
put your
good.
arm out again. You got it? Okay. And make it
Again,
strong.
straight. And again, this muscle alone. Okay, ready?
Think about that thing. Okay, did
Try
that...
it. Wait, let's try it again.
Think about that unhappy,
Okay, ready?
painful loss. Go. Okay, was there a difference for you?
Yeah, it's certainly harder to stay firm when I'm thinking, so I almost flip out of
Okay.
thinking, then you get firm, then I
Okay.
go back to thinking.
Well,
I
all
kind
right,
of don't
just feel it in your body.
Feel it.
Don't think about
Feel-
it. Don't
Feel the
Feel that feeling,
sadness or
feel
the
that
Yeah.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not happy about. Thank you.
Just, okay?
Feel it. Just feel how that feels.
Okay, now ready? Think about holding your arm. Okay, ready?
Okay. Now, there's still a difference, but don't do anything now. The rest of you, open your heart to Rick. We don't know what he's feeling as a pain or a loss. But here's your fellow human, and if you love him, or if you can imagine loving him, just open your hearts to Rick in his pain. Okay, put your arm out, Rick. And just, Thomas, test it. Hold it.
Ready?
Was there a difference?
I think so. I feel reinvigorated.
Yeah, okay. So
Better?
go sit down. That is, what I want to show you is how we can bring each other down, but we can also bring each other up. And that's, we're going to talk about forgiveness because that's the medicine for
Okay. So-
self-protection.
But, okay, I want to reinforce the one thing that she was really demonstrating is that the appearance, the obvious fact that we are separated is not ultimately true. It's true at one level of function and not true at another. We interpenetrate, and Rick was affected by your change of state. So what do we do to make the world a better place? What do we do to make our relations better? What do we do to make ourselves better? And it comes right out of our basic Christian teaching. It is to forgive. The meaning of the word forgive is give ahead. Forgive. Like a pinafore. This thing pinned in front of the dress. That's, or the forehead. Forgive. To give ahead, it is unearned. It's, well, I'll forgive you if.
That's a transaction.
No.
Think of Jesus on the cross, totally abused unjustly. He could have been telling a story. These people didn't listen to me, and look what happened, and now they're not going to get what I came for. No, he was like, Father, forgive them. And no fight, no fight. Not because he approved, but that. So in your relationships, now that you might be able to notice, do you think you can notice the difference in yourself now or somebody else between whether they're in a state of grace, stressful, trying to figure out how to manage the world, or fight, or withdrawal of self-protection? Do you get these basic distinctions? I mean, I showed them at the state penitentiary to a bunch of lifers in 5 minutes, and they all got it.
Yeah.
Self-protection, getting along, you know. You can tell the difference in yourself. If not, the persons you live with can tell the difference.
So one of the things that's really important, one of the states of grace is love. Love is forgiveness. Forgiveness is merely loving now what I failed to forgive, to love then. That's all. It's remedial love. It's a state of grace.
So the only way to shift somebody else that you love and care about or need to interact with out of a state of self-protection. Ever try to argue someone out of their erroneous point of view when they're angry? Does that work? But what if you did, you know, some authentic version of what Thomas did? Not necessarily apologize, but hold your heart open in the face of that attack. I mean, that's sanctification, folks. That's what Jesus demonstrated. And, hey, it works psychologically. And then love heals in that field of an open heart, of a very vulnerable recognition. Miracles happen.